on that as well. Like that's what it's about. Yeah, that's what marriage is about. It's about duty. It's about responsibility. It's about this thing is bigger than I am. So even when it isn't always advantageous, let's say, I'm going to stay in it and thug it out for my kids, for something greater than myself, for something bigger than myself. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of Find Your Formula Reacts. And today we got a video here featuring the master debater himself, Andrew Wilson. The video is titled, Are Single Mothers Destroying Society? Now, before Andrew gives his point, to kind of give my little 2 cents, I think there's a multitude of things destroying society. But I do think the celebration of single motherhood, especially in the Black community, is one of the many things that is destroying society 110%. It's not a good thing to be raising a parent or to be a single parent raising a kid alone, especially if you look at all the statistics that come out of that. You know, the kid is more likely to drop out of high school, is more likely to go to jail, more likely to use drugs. All of the like all bad things that no good parent wants for their kid, the kid is more likely to get into if they come from a single mother household. And the reason why specifically single mother and not single father is because most of the time the mom ends up getting custody. So, without any further ado, let's get into the video.
Parents should be miserable, not love each other, but stay for the kids. Do you think that is better for
Yeah.
the kids? No,
Yeah.
that is not better for the kids.
That's not what the stats show.
I'll make you that argument.
Not
right
what
now.
the stats show.
Okay, so again, the whole thing about like women and single moms and stuff, and I can see how it has escalated, but there's a lot of factors to it. You're talking about kids not having fathers and stuff. I can tell you the opposite stories. My own story. The guy doesn't want to be involved in her life, and I'm not going to force him to, right? So there's a lot, and I am actually part of a lot of single moms groups where a lot of these men don't want to be involved in these kids' lives. It's not that women are stopping them, but you know what? Online we hear always, oh, I wanted to see my kid, and the ones that do see them, they see them once a week. If you're saying that women haven't been doing duty, actually women are doing double the duty now. Women go outside, they work, and then they come back home, and then they have the duty to those kids. But men, when they go to work, they come back,
10
they don't
seconds
do
left.
stuff at home. Sorry, in 1 second. So they
We
don't do
can go.
all the same things. Like we got our rights, we got whatever, but men stopped. They didn't change themselves. That the physical labor and the whole responsibility of raising a
And
child. You guys don't take that responsibility.
time. We'll kick it over to Andrew.
These are
for
all excellent
60
arguments you're
seconds.
making against feminism and egalitarianism.
Mhm.
You're right. The law used to make it mandatory that men had to take care of their children. Had to. They had to do it, or they went, or they went to jail. They had to take care of their wives, or they went to jail. That's what the law used to say they had to do. Now they don't have to. You don't have to take care of your wife now. You just leave. On top of that, wives, they're the ones who are doing the initiation of divorce. And it's not for abuse. The number one reason is irreconcilable differences. He doesn't make
Right,
me feel warm and
feelings.
fuzzy inside, which puts their children at a massive disadvantage in comparison to the rest of society. Okay, you do have to sacrifice your duties and interests on behalf of your children. You say, "Oh, men don't help out with the housework." Well, yeah, if you're a stay-at-home mom, that's your job, lady. He does the work. You do the housework. Oh, it's terrible. And by the way, it's a great deal for women to be stay-at-home moms. They only have to do the early maternal years. I have multiple children. It gets way easier as they get older in that department. And
Mhm.
most of the time now, you ship your kid off to public school by the time they're 6. So you don't even have them
And
for 8 hours out of the day. Don't tell me how rough it is on women.
that's
Give me a break.
60 seconds.
Not only that, like when it comes down to who's picking who, it's like you said, it's the women that are leaving a lot of the times. And it's also the women that are picking a guy who's showing signs of being irresponsible to begin with, but because he's tall or because he's this or because he's that, that's going to be the guy that a lot of these chicks end up going with. Andrew actually absolutely nailed it when he said, this is exactly the point against feminism and egalitarianism. If you want to be equal, then you don't get to get the preferential treatment that comes with not being equal. You're equal. You're a boss babe. You're a boss girl. Whatever. But like if you get left, that guy's obviously a piece of crap. But what about you attracts pieces of crap? Why do you like that in your man? Yeah, he crushed it.
Like I say, it's so easy. Why don't men do it? Let's do it.
They do it. They do it.
No. There's more single mothers than there's single fathers. Okay,
By choice. By choice.
Let me finish.
Well, let's give them all each 60 seconds.
Okay, I
I
don't think that's
literally
a
know
question.
of women that have been divorced in my area in the last few years that I've lived here. And let me tell you, they're exhausted. They're exhausted from working outside. They're exhausted from taking care of the parent, for the kids, running them around here. And literally, they're tired. That's why you say like, oh, they didn't feel warm and fuzzy anymore. So you want the parents to be miserable, not love each other, but stay for the kids. Do you think that is better for the kids? No,
Yeah.
it's not better for the kids.
Yeah, it is, because when you have a kid who comes from a two-parent household as opposed to a one-parent household, that kid's success is exponential. So yeah, it actually is better. But what this woman right here is doing is a perfect example of the saying, a woman will sacrifice her family for her happiness. Well, as a man will sacrifice his happiness for her family. Oh, so you want us to be miserable and unhappy, but you want us to stay in it for the kids. Well, that's the better option. Obviously, the best option is you're happily married. It's all sunshine and rainbows, whatever the case may be. But that's not the world sometimes. Sometimes things get hard. Sometimes people aren't as attracted to each other as they are. Life is tough. You know what I'm saying? But you're making your kid's life even tougher by deciding that you're going to, leave your husband. Because again, women are initiating most of the divorce. It's also because like most of the negative emotions in the relationship are going to be felt by the woman. You know what I'm saying? She's going to be more prone to negative feelings, more prone to like, well, this doesn't feel good, so I'm going to voice my opinion. And you only get so many chances of things not feeling good. You only get so many chances of things not feeling good before that woman starts chucking up the deuces and looking for different ways out, especially here in America where she's not punished for it. She's rewarded.
Not what the stats show.
I'll make you that argument.
Not what the stats show.
If the woman, the mother, is herself miserable in a relationship, if she can't take care of herself, how is she going to take care of the kids? You guys are never there. I have been in, like, literally, you would rather have an abusive family, these people yelling and screaming in front of kids that they think is better than
10
having
seconds
two
late.
separate houses.
Well, then you have to. Then Lucy, you got some splaining to do, because before we had no fault divorce, most people stayed married. And if women were truly these, hey, can you stop? Can you
We'll have
stop
to give it
talking,
to
lady?
60 seconds.
So if it is the case, lady, that women were in these miserable marriages and they just couldn't leave, and that was actually worse for the kids, how come those kids were so much better adjusted with way less mental illness and had way better prospects for their future than our children do right now in single mother households? Can you explain that? Why is it that in single mother households, the children have every single multiple disadvantage you could think of, including mental illness, homelessness, everything else, when in comparison, we go back to before there was no fault divorce, women stayed married. That generation of children, far better adjusted, way less mental illness, way less homelessness, way better nest eggs. They have better advantages in every aspect. So if it is the case that women were just miserable, right, and they shouldn't have stayed just out of duty because that would affect the kids, it seems to have affected them positively, didn't it? So the thing is like these two.
I want to go in on that as well. Like that's what it's about. Yeah, that's what marriage is about. It's about duty. It's about responsibility. It's about this thing is bigger than I am. So even when it isn't always advantageous, let's say, I'm going to stay in it and thug it out for my kids, for something greater than myself, for something bigger than myself. You know what I'm saying? There's a bunch of dudes who aren't happy in their marriage. Their wife stops sleeping with them. They get a BJ maybe once every year for their birthday. They're not happy about that, but they still thug it out and they stay. But those men aren't revered. It's just like, where can you go? Because with dudes, if they have everything to give in the marriage and then everything to lose in the divorce. And it's tough for those guys, man. It really is, because a lot of guys, man, they get hit with a bait and switch. They marry one woman, divorce a completely different one. As soon as she has those resources secured and she knows that she got her fangs in you and she knows that you ain't finna go nowhere and just leave her, oh, you get a whole different version of her then. Get a whole different version of her. There's women that talk about having a starter marriage. This is my starter marriage, a warm-up marriage, just to kind of get the feet wet, see how it is, blah, blah, blah. And then they go for the guy that they really want. And it's like, that's that's the modern women of today, bro. That's the woman of today. And if that's the women that are out there today, you got to be aware of that. You have to be aware of that.
Households, we see this over and over and over again. The outcomes for those children, way better. They did better academically. They did better physically. They did better in almost every aspect of life in comparison to modern children who are raised in single mother households. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. All data points to this.
Malik.
All of it.
Okay, so you were saying that those kids back in the days were better physically. Okay, yeah, I agree with you because there was no internet, there was no social media. Kids went outside, they played, they socialized. It was a different time, right? That's what you keep bringing it. No, you want. It was a different time. There was not as many people in the world. It wasn't so multicultural, right? Was it? It was a different world where
These
you
are great arguments against feminism.
Going to be different. Hang on, the outcomes are going to be different. Right? Nobody was glued to their TV all day long. So obviously they were better physically fit. Right? They went and played more sports so you could see better sportsmen coming out of there. Nowadays you're seeing more gamers. It's just different. You're still seeing that talent, but it's different. It's you don't no, because there wasn't that many people at that time either. Like I just don't understand how you keep comparing
Bro,
that time.
it's not like back then we had like 40 people and now all of a sudden there's 8 billion. There may have been less people and there may not have been that much technology. Okay, sure. Does technology play a role in not having mentally stable people and mentally stable children? Absolutely. There's like a whole thing talking about like tablet kids. But again, tablet kids are a product of a tired single mom getting home from work, doesn't want to have to deal with the kids, doesn't want to have to like raise them. Actually, the kids get home from school, here, go play on your tablet while mommy drinks box wine and swipes on Tinder. So again, yeah, it was a different world because today's modern woman wouldn't have survived out there back then. You know what I'm saying? Today's modern woman, if she is a single mom, it's celebrated. You know, on Father's Day, you have single moms that are like, I'm the mother and the father. It's like, you're a single mom by choice, though. You picked a guy who wasn't shit and you let him jizz up in you. You carried the kid to term. And now these are your circumstances. Like, I don't understand why you want us to feel sorry for something that you've done. And then the crazy part is again, these same single women will go back out into the dating market, somehow thinking that the sexual market value has increased somehow. And now they want a guy that is quote unquote better than their baby daddy to give them more than what their baby daddy gave them. And they gave that man the highest honor a woman could give him, which is a child. So it's like if your baby daddy's a 4, let's say, and I'm an 8, I'm not saying I am, but let's just say I'm an 8. Why would I then marry you for you to give me a kid when the guy who gave you a kid is not even on my level? That's the part about a lot of single mothers and a lot of single motherisms that I don't quite understand. Like, it's like you've made a mistake. You know, you made a mistake. Stop acting like what you did is a good thing. Like, yes, you have a child. That's great. Stop acting like what you did is a good thing for the man that you actually want, because it's not. It's going to take a different kind of man to be like, yeah, I understand you have 4 kids, but, you know, and I'm a top value man. I'm going to be with you anyways. Maybe, because it happens. Maybe, right? But let's be honest and let's look at the real. Let's look at the other perspective. Is the guy that you want looking for a woman that already has a kid from someone else? Chances are he's not. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? Absolutely not.
Into now time because the situations were different. You know, everything wasn't.
These are great arguments against multiculturalism.
It wasn't so expensive. You know, both parents didn't have to go work outside, right?
Yeah.
You could live in a home and one car in a decent.
But that happened because of feminism.
Now. You cannot just say, "Oh, it's because single mom."
This is great.
Again,
And
the single moms. Where are the fathers? Why are they
like this is fantastic. You're right. It's almost like putting women in the workforce, right? Because rich industrialists wanted them to be in the workforce, and they did. And
so
it was all funded by
them.
Rockefeller, for instance, who wanted them in the workforce in the worst way. Okay, doubled the now amount of labor industrial labor which was available, thus decreasing and suppressing wages necessarily. It was a terrible idea. You're right. They could afford one income because society was set up for that. Women demanded the opposite, and the outcome of that was really bad. Not only that, but let's take a look at your other arguments here, which are absurd arguments. If you would have a good leg to stand on if you said, well, wait a second, it's a different time then, and they didn't have A, B, C, and D. Well, okay, but now we see in two-parent households right this second in modernity, the outcomes for children are still way better. Even if they're in houses where the mom and daddy don't really like each other that much, the outcome for the kids are still better. Why? Because they govern that stuff. They govern the smartphone use. They make them have more playtime.
Exactly.
They make demands that they watch less TV. Single mothers aren't making those types of demands. They don't have time to make those types of demands. Clearly, it's better to have a two-parent household and keep those intact. Feminism has been doing everything it can to destroy that and women's liberation. And I just demonstrated it to you, and you demonstrated it yourself by giving the examples of how society used to be way better.
Fair here. Malich, go ahead.
I think women need to have the right to have a divorce. If they're not happy in a marriage, they should have a right to divorce.
But again,
the fact that
marriage is not about happiness. We keep going back to the emotional argument. Marriage is about happiness maybe 2% of the time. Because we're talking about something that's fleeting. You might be happy leaving your husband. Does that mean you should end the marriage? In her mind, it does. And that's what's so dangerous. It's like you're trying to keep a person in a stable, you're trying to keep an unstable person by nature in a stable environment. And they can ruin the entire ecosystem just by feeling unstable. Like women have their cycle, their hormones, emotions, everything's all over the place. That's just built into them as who they are. It's not a flaw, it's a feature. We're taking one of women's most prominent features, their emotionality, let's say, and saying like, hey man, are you willing to hinge your entire livelihood on the fact or the probability of me not being emotional? Absolutely not. You're emotional by nature. And that's great. We love that about you. But I'm not going to bet my house on it. Like, that's crazy. That's insane. That doesn't make any sense. It's not about happiness. It's about duty. It's about responsibility. And it's about pushing your children to be a better version of you. Look, hey, I only had this much when I was a kid. I want you to have double. My dad would always say, look, son, if I make $100,000 a year, I want you to make 2 or 3. Like your dad's the only person, like the only man that wants you to do better than him. You know what I'm saying? And if you take that away, especially from young boys, a woman can't teach a boy how to be a man. That's a man's job. That's a man's job. But listen, guys, that's all I have for this video. I'm going to leave the full video down in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And the best way to help out the channel is to watch another one of the videos that you see popping up on the screen right now. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.